The stronger you rise, the weaker they feel. They swore they were ahead, thought they had you figured out, believed they could block you, break you, or bury you under their lies. But here you are, still standing, still evolving, still becoming something they will never be. And now, they're desperate. They've run out of masks to wear, out of games to play, out of ways to keep up. The more they watch you win, the more they fall apart. Because it's not just that you're rising, it's that your success is exposing their failure. Your confidence reminds them of their insecurity. Your glow highlights their emptiness. Your presence makes them feel small in their own story. And they can't stand it. That's why they hate you, talk about you, obsess over you. Because your power isn't just a threat, it's a mirror. Every move you make forces them to see their own weaknesses, their own lack, their own inability to create what you were born with. They tried to outshine you, but only exposed themselves. They tried to stop you, but only fueled your rise. Now they're scrambling, watching from the sidelines, obsessed, bitter, desperate. And this is what breaks them. Because you weren't supposed to make it. You weren't supposed to rise. You weren't supposed to be untouchable. They thought they had you locked in, thought you would crumble without their validation, thought you needed them more than they needed you. But now they see the truth. You were never dependent on them. They were feeding off you the whole time. See, when you're chosen, your energy carries weight. You don't just exist, you shift things. When you walk into a room, the atmosphere changes. When you speak, people listen. When you move, people follow. And your enemies, they've always known this. That's why they've tried so hard to manipulate you, sabotage you, and drain you, because they needed your light to shine. But now, you took your power back. You cut the cord, broke the cycle, and left them gasping for the energy they once stole from you. And that's why they're panicking. That's why they're watching your every move, desperate to see you fail. Because they can't handle the reality that you were always the source. And that's exactly why we're about to break this all down, why your enemies are spiraling, why they can't handle your power, and why their desperation is only proof that you've already won. But before we get into it, if you know you've ever made people uncomfortable just by being yourself, if you've ever felt the weight of their jealousy and their silent war against you, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop 77 in the comments. Because when you engage, you help spread this truth to more people like you. You signal to the universe, to the world, and to the ones still doubting themselves that chosen ones don't compete. We dominate. So let's get into it. Because the truth is, they don't hate you, they fear you. Number 1, they can't stand that you don't need them. Nothing scares a manipulator more than someone they can't control. They thought they had you locked in, thought you would always be there, waiting for their approval, craving their validation, running back to them when things got tough. They convinced themselves that without them, you wouldn't know what to do, that you would crumble the moment they pulled away. But reality hit them like a storm. You never needed them. It was they who needed you. And now that you've realized it, they're losing their minds. They used to thrive on your doubt. They loved seeing you question yourself, second-guessing every move, unsure if you were making the right choices. They enjoyed being the ones who knew better, the ones who had experience, the ones who positioned themselves as your guiding force, not because they wanted to see you succeed, but because they wanted to keep you small. Because as long as you were unsure, you were controllable. But you broke the cycle. You outgrew them, moved on, and realized your own power. And now, they can't handle it. See, manipulators, fake friends, and bitter enemies only have power over you if you let them. Their strength comes from your uncertainty, your need for approval, your belief that they hold something valuable over you. But the moment you recognize your own value, they become powerless. And now they're desperate, doing everything they can to make you look back, to make you question yourself again, to make you wonder if maybe, just maybe, you still need them. But you don't, and that's what's destroying them. Look at some of the greatest names in history: Oprah, Elon Musk, Kobe Bryant, Steve Jobs, Rihanna. They all had one thing in common. At some point, they had to stop listening to the people who told them they couldn't do it. Oprah was told she wasn't fit for television. Now she's one of the most powerful women in media. Elon Musk was ridiculed for his ideas. Now those same critics use his technology daily. Kobe Bryant didn't just want to be good. He outworked everyone to be legendary. These people didn't wait for permission. They didn't wait for validation. They decided who they were, and the world had to adjust. And that's exactly what you did. You stopped needing them. You stopped listening to their negativity, stopped feeding their egos, stopped allowing their opinions to dictate your reality. And now they don't know what to do with themselves. They don't know how to function when they're not the center of your attention. They don't know how to feel important when you don't need their approval. You might be wondering, why do they care so much? Shouldn't they be happy that I'm thriving without them? No, because they were never rooting for you in the first place. They wanted you beneath them. They wanted you controlled, dependent, small. The thought of you outgrowing them was never part of their plan. And now they're bitter, they're restless, they're plotting, gossiping, lurking, because nothing haunts a person more than the one they can no longer control. It's why they suddenly want to check in. It's why they start acting like they care about you now. It's why they whisper your name in rooms you don't even walk in anymore. They're trying to find a way back in, not because they miss you, not because they suddenly respect you, but because they miss the power they had over you. But you don't owe them anything. You don't owe them explanations. You don't owe them second chances. You don't owe them access to this new, evolved version of you. Because here's what will haunt them the most. You don't even hate them. You just don't need them. And that is their biggest nightmare. Number 2, your presence exposes their weaknesses. You didn't even have to attack them. Your success did that for you. You walk into a room and suddenly they shift uncomfortably. You speak and they roll their eyes, dismissing your words as if they don't matter, yet they can't stop listening. You move with confidence and it burns them inside because they can't figure out how you do it so effortlessly. Your very existence is a threat, not because you're doing anything to them, but because you are everything they pretend to be. You didn't ask to be the one they secretly compete with. You never even signed up for this invisible battle. You're just living, thriving, walking in your own power. And yet somehow, that alone is enough to send them into a spiral. Because every time they see you, they see what they lack. Every time you elevate, it reminds them of how stagnant they are. Every time you achieve something, it highlights how little effort they've put into their own growth. And instead of fixing themselves, they focus on trying to break you. They talk about you, not because you've wronged them, but because gossip is the only power they have left. They try to discredit you, hoping that if they throw enough dirt on your name, people won't notice how much brighter you shine. They watch your every move, hoping you'll fail, because nothing would make them feel better than seeing you fall. But here's the reality. You don't even have to fight them. Your success already defeated them. Look at the world's greatest visionaries: Michael Jordan, Beyoncé, Steve Jobs, Serena Williams. These people didn't waste time addressing every critic, every jealous onlooker, every insecure hater trying to bring them down. They let their work speak for itself. Because at the end of the day, success doesn't need an explanation. Only failure does. And that's what's happening to your enemies right now. They see you winning and feel like failures. They see your confidence and feel small. They watch you walk with purpose, and it reminds them they've been standing still. They thought ignoring you would make them feel superior, but instead, your presence keeps haunting them. And you might be wondering, why don't they just focus on themselves? Why waste energy hating when they could be leveling up too? Because leveling up requires work, and work requires accountability. And these people, they don't want to put in the work. They don't want to fix their insecurities, their lack of ambition, their failure to grow. They don't want to admit that you weren't just lucky. You earned everything you have. So instead, they choose the easy route. They lash out, they whisper, they move in shadows, hoping to find a way to dim your light. But nothing they do will ever be enough, because they can't erase the truth. You're winning because you put in the effort they were too lazy to commit to. And here's where it really hurts them. You're not even competing with them. While they're obsessing over you, you're focused on your next goal. While they're sitting in circles talking about you, you're out there making moves. They are stuck in a battle that only exists in their own minds. That's why they can't stand you. Not because you've done anything to them, but because you are a constant reminder of what they could be if they stopped making excuses. And the worst part? You're not even thinking about them. They've built their entire personality around hating you, and yet you keep winning. You keep growing. You keep proving without saying a word that you were never on the same level. So let them talk. Let them spiral. Let them waste their energy trying to fight a battle you're not even part of. Because while they stay stuck in their insecurities, you're already on your next level. Number 3. They tried to replace you and failed miserably. They thought they could swap you out like a trend, but legends don't expire. They thought you were just another option, just another piece in their little game. They thought they could discard you, downgrade, and keep moving like nothing happened. They were sure they could replace you with someone easier to control, someone more desperate for their approval, someone who wouldn't challenge them. They thought you were just a temporary phase in their life, a placeholder until they found something better. But reality hit them like a train, because you weren't temporary. You were the prize. And now, sitting in the wreckage of their own choices, they're realizing the cold, hard truth. You were never the one who needed them. They needed you. See, when you bring value, when you carry real energy, real power, and real presence, you can't be replaced. You can only be remembered. And no matter how much they try to convince themselves otherwise, the absence of your energy is a void they can't fill. They downgraded. And they know it. They see it. They feel it. At first, they pretended they won. They paraded their new replacement around, thinking it would get under your skin. They did everything they could to act unbothered, to convince themselves that they upgraded. But deep down, reality was already sinking in. They lost something rare, because here's what they never understood. You weren't just giving them time. You were giving them access to your wisdom, access to your light, access to the kind of energy that makes everything around it grow. You weren't just another person in their life. You were the reason things flowed smoothly for them. And now that you're gone, the glow they once had from being connected to you has faded. The opportunities that seemed endless when you were around, gone. The confidence they had when they were standing next to you, shattered. They tried to recreate the magic they once had, but the truth is, it was never their magic to begin with. It was yours. Look at history. Great players don't replace leaders. They collapse without them. When Steve Jobs was pushed out of Apple, the company suffered until they had no choice but to bring him back. When Michael Jordan stepped away from the game, the Chicago Bulls learned real quick that you don't just swap out a legend. And when Beyoncé left Destiny's Child, the rest is history. Because here's what they fail to understand. You don't replace greatness. You simply suffer without it. And now you might be asking yourself, if I was so valuable, why did they even try to replace me? Because they thought you would always be available. They thought they could mistreat you, overlook you, take you for granted, and you would still be there. They thought they had time to play games, time to disrespect you, time to keep you as an option while they entertained lesser versions of you. But what they didn't realize, you were already done before they even made their move. Because once a chosen one decides to leave, there's no coming back. Now they're sitting with the consequences of their own choices. They're replaying every moment, every opportunity, every time they thought they could do better, only to realize they threw away the best thing they ever had. They thought you were the problem. They thought replacing you would bring them peace, happiness, success. But they played themselves. And the worst part? There's no undoing it. They can't just walk back in like nothing happened. That door is closed. That chapter is finished. Because while they were out searching, you were evolving. While they were pretending to be happy, you were leveling up. And now they sit in regret, realizing too late, you were the real prize. Number 4, they throw everything at you, but you keep winning. The louder the hate, the bigger the blessing coming your way. They've tried everything: lies, betrayal, gossip, manipulation. They've done the most to see you fall, yet every time they think they've buried you, you rise again, stronger, sharper, and even more untouchable. Every time they push against you, the universe pulls you forward. Every attack they send is just another step in your elevation. And that's what's killing them. They thought if they slandered your name, people would turn against you. But instead, people saw through their lies and started seeing them for who they really are. They thought if they blocked your opportunities, they could stop your progress. But instead, the doors they tried to close forced you to build your own, bigger, better, and unshakable. They thought if they drained you, exhausted you, overwhelmed you, you would finally give up. But instead, you transformed every setback into fuel, every loss into wisdom, every obstacle into a stepping stone. Now they're confused, frustrated, helpless, because nothing they do is working. That's the thing about real power. It doesn't break under pressure. It thrives in it. Look at history. Nelson Mandela was thrown in prison for 27 years, and when he walked out, he led a nation. Oprah was fired from her first television job. Now she owns the network. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Then he became a legend. The greatest minds, the most powerful forces, the chosen ones throughout time have all faced attacks, and yet they still became unstoppable. Because the truth is, when you're built for greatness, adversity isn't an obstacle, it's part of the process. The attacks don't stop you, they shape you. The betrayals don't break you, they refine you. The hate doesn't hold you back, it fuels you. And now, your enemies are exhausted. They've lied on your name so much that even they can't keep their stories straight. They've tried to rally people against you, only to realize that real ones don't fall for nonsense. They've plotted, schemed, and thrown every trick in the book at you, but you're still here, still rising, still winning. And you might be asking yourself, why won't they stop? Why keep attacking when they see it's not working? Because losing to you is driving them insane. They don't understand how you keep bouncing back, how you stay calm while they're in chaos, how you remain unbothered while they're losing sleep over you. They thought you needed their approval, their validation, their acceptance, but you never did. That's why their hate isn't hurting you, it's just making them miserable. And here's the best part. Every time they try to destroy you, the universe rewards you. You've probably noticed it. The moment they spread lies, a new opportunity comes knocking. The second they try to block you, a better door opens. The instant they think they've finally taken you down, you rise higher than ever. It's almost like the universe is using their own energy against them, flipping every attack into a blessing, every trap into a lesson. Because chosen ones don't fall, they ascend. So let them throw everything they have. Let them talk, let them scheme, let them exhaust themselves trying to stop what they could never control. Because while they stay consumed with you, you're too busy winning. Number 5. They hate that they can't predict your next move. They're playing checkers while you're moving in silence like a grandmaster. They're desperate, watching, studying, trying to predict your next step like a gambler down to his last dollar, hoping for a miracle. But the problem is, you're not playing the same game as them. While they're focused on the past, trying to decode your last move, you've already made the next one. While they're obsessing over how to stop you, you're too busy evolving to even notice. They can't stand that. It keeps them up at night. They want to anticipate your next move, block your next opportunity, sabotage your next win. But how can they, when you're always 10 steps ahead? They're stuck playing checkers, moving piece by piece, while you're out here playing chess, thinking 5 moves ahead, seeing the whole board, controlling the entire game. See, they expected you to be predictable. They assumed you would react, retaliate, or make emotional decisions that they could use against you. They thought you would waste time explaining yourself, proving your worth, trying to fix relationships that were never meant to be saved. But you didn't. Instead, you moved in silence, and that's what's driving them insane. Because they don't know what's coming next. They don't know if you're about to make the biggest power move of your life, or if you've already done it. They don't know if you're watching, if you care, or if you've completely forgotten about them. And that uncertainty, it eats them alive. Look at the greats: Jay-Z, Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. None of them announce their next move before it happens. They build quietly, they strike when the moment is right, and by the time the world knows what they've been working on, it's already too late to stop them. That's exactly what you're doing. And they hate it. They sit in frustration, checking your social media, watching who you talk to, trying to piece together a puzzle that only you have the blueprint for. But no matter how much they analyze, how many questions they ask, how many fake check-ins they attempt, they will never get ahead of you. And you might be wondering, why do they even care? Why are they so obsessed with trying to figure me out? Because control is everything to weak people. If they can't predict you, they can't manipulate you. If they don't know what you're planning, they can't sabotage it. If they don't understand how you move, they can't compete. And that's what's killing them. Because the truth is, you don't operate on their level anymore. You're not moving out of desperation, you're moving with strategy. You don't announce every plan, you don't seek approval, you don't look for validation. You just build, you just grow, you just keep making moves that leave them scrambling to catch up. And by the time they do, you're already somewhere they can never reach. That's why they hate you. Not because you wronged them, not because you hurt them, but because you outpaced them. You evolved while they stayed stagnant. You learned the art of moving in silence while they wasted time making noise. And now they're lost, confused and stuck playing a game they can never win. So let them keep watching. Let them keep guessing. Let them waste their energy trying to figure out what's next. Because while they're busy looking back, you're already on your next level. Number 6, your energy is too strong for them to handle. They wanted your glow, but they weren't built for the fire that created it. They watched you from a distance, mesmerized by your light. At first, they thought they could get close, absorb your energy, maybe even steal a little bit of your essence. They tried to stand next to you, thinking that proximity alone would make them powerful, but they didn't realize The glow they admired was born from the fire that nearly destroyed you. They wanted the results, but they didn't want the process. They wanted to shine like you, but they weren't ready to burn like you did. Because that's the thing about chosen ones. We don't just wake up with this kind of energy, we earn it. Every ounce of confidence, every piece of wisdom, every bit of presence you carry came from battles they wouldn't have survived. And that's why they envy you, not just because you shine, but because you survived everything that tried to put out your fire. Your energy isn't for everyone. It either inspires or intimidates. And for most people, it does both. Some will gravitate toward you, drawn in by the unshakable presence you carry. Others will pull away, bitter and envious, because your strength is a reminder of their own weakness. At first they tried to match your frequency. They imitated your confidence, copied your words, tried to mirror your moves, but they burned out quickly, because what comes naturally to you drains them. That's why they turn against you. That's why they talk behind your back, act like you're too much, roll their eyes when you walk in a room. Because deep down they know they can't sit at your table. They can't handle the intensity, the fire, the unfiltered power that you carry. They wanted to be like you, until they realized what it takes to actually be you. Look at the world's greatest icons. Muhammad Ali didn't just talk, he backed it up with relentless work. The same people who mocked him ended up quoting him years later. Serena Williams wasn't just talented, she trained harder than anyone else. The same critics who said she was too much ended up watching her make history. Beyoncé didn't just show up, she mastered her craft. And now, she's untouchable. That's what real energy does. It separates the weak from the strong. And you might be wondering, why do they even care? Why don't they just leave me alone if my energy is too much for them? Because your presence forces them to confront their own mediocrity. When you walk in a room, you remind them of everything they could have been if they had discipline, if they had courage, if they had the ability to push through the pain instead of making excuses. They can't handle you because you don't shrink to make them comfortable. You don't lower your frequency to match theirs. You exist in your power, fully and unapologetically. And that makes them uncomfortable. But here's the thing, that's not your problem. You were never meant to fit in with the weak, the insecure, the lazy. Your energy is a force, a frequency, a movement. It wasn't given to you so you could waste it trying to make people comfortable. It was given to you to lead, to inspire, to stand apart. And that's why they will always envy you, but never truly sit with you. Because while they're trying to imitate, compete, or tear you down, you're already on your next level. Number 7, they wanted to see you lose, but now they're losing sleep over you. Nothing haunts a hater more than the one they couldn't break. They were counting on your downfall, watching, waiting, hoping that one day they would hear you failed. They thought life would humble you, that without them you would struggle, that the weight of betrayal would be too much for you to carry. They wanted to see you fold, beg, break. But instead, you elevated. You leveled up in ways they never imagined. And now, they're losing sleep over you. Because the worst thing that could have happened for them was you surviving. No, thriving, flourishing without them, winning without their validation. You're not just moving forward, you're glowing in ways they can't ignore. And that's what's eating them alive. They check your every move. They stalk your social media, ask mutual friends about you, analyze your life like it's a game of chess, because they need to know how you're doing so well. They need to figure out why their absence didn't destroy you. They don't understand how you kept rising after everything they threw at you. And you don't even think about them. That's what burns them the most. While they obsess over you, you're too busy building, growing, and stepping into your purpose. They expected you to collapse under the pressure, but they're the ones unraveling. Because here's what haters never prepare for. What happens when their target stops reacting? See, people who want to see you fail aren't just haters. They're emotional gamblers. They bet everything on your destruction. They invested in your downfall, put energy into your setbacks, placed all their chips on the idea that you would never recover. And now, that gamble is backfiring. Because every time they see you, they see the proof that they were wrong. Every time your name comes up, every time they hear about your success, it reminds them of their own failure. Their failure to keep you small, their failure to control your destiny, their failure to be anything but an irrelevant chapter in your success story. And let's be real, jealousy is expensive. The cost of envy, restless nights, constant comparison, and the slow realization that they destroyed their own peace while you remain untouched. Look at some of the most iconic success stories: Beyoncé, Michael Jordan, Elon Musk. Do you think the people who doubted them, who counted them out, who bet against them are sleeping peacefully? No, they're haunted. They watch from the sidelines, knowing they played themselves. And that's exactly what's happening to your enemies right now. Because let's be honest, they weren't just watching to see if you failed. They needed you to fail. It was the only way they could justify their own mediocrity. If you had lost, if you had broken, they could have pointed and said, "See, I knew they weren't all that, but you proved them wrong." And now, they sit in regret, forced to swallow the truth that they bet against someone who was destined to win. And you might be asking yourself, why do they still care? Why not just move on? Because your success is their karma. Every moment they spend thinking about you is a reminder that they could have chosen loyalty over jealousy. They could have supported you instead of envying you. They could have celebrated your wins instead of plotting against you, but instead, they let their ego cost them access to you. And now, they suffer in silence. They pretend they don't see you, act like they're unbothered, post subliminal messages, hoping to convince themselves that they've moved on. But deep down, you're still in their mind, rent-free. And the funniest part, you don't even have to do anything. You don't have to get revenge. You don't have to entertain their negativity. You don't even have to acknowledge their existence. Your success is enough. Your glow is enough. Your evolution is enough. So let them watch. Let them wonder. Let them regret. Because while they spend their nights restless, replaying their mistakes, you're out here living, winning, and stepping into everything they swore you'd never have. And that's what haunts them the most. Number 8, they thought they had power over you until you took it back. You broke free from their illusion, and now they're powerless. They thought they had you under control, thought they had you wrapped around their fingers, dancing to their manipulations, dependent on their approval. They fed off your doubt, thrived on your insecurities, made you feel like you were lucky to have them in your life, when in reality, they were the ones surviving off your energy. They weren't strong without you, but they did everything in their power to convince you that you were nothing without them. And for a while, maybe you believed it. Maybe you stayed small to make them feel big. Maybe you kept quiet when you should have spoken up. Maybe you let them dictate your worth because deep down, they had conditioned you to seek their validation. But then you woke up, and once you realized your worth, their power over you disappeared instantly. See, manipulators don't thrive in truth. They survive in illusion. They make you think you need them, that without them, you'd fall apart. But it was never you who was dependent on them. It was them who needed to keep you weak to feel powerful. They knew that the moment you saw yourself clearly, the game would be over. And that's exactly what happened. The moment you decided to take your power back, they lost everything. Suddenly, the mind games stopped working. The guilt trips lost their grip. The tactics that once kept you on edge, now you see right through them. They can't stand it because now they're powerless. Look at how history repeats itself. When the people take back their power, the oppressors crumble. When empires try to control the masses through lies, the moment the truth is revealed, they collapse. When someone wakes up from manipulation, the abuser loses their ability to dominate. That's what just happened to them. They thrived when you doubted yourself, but now you trust yourself. They thrived when you felt like you needed them. But now, you don't even think about them. They thrived when you were waiting on their approval, but now you make your own decisions, and now they're scrambling. They don't know how to function without controlling you. They don't know who they are without being able to manipulate you. The power they once had wasn't real. It only existed because you allowed it. And now that you've reclaimed your strength, they're the ones feeling weak. You might be wondering, if I was so unimportant to them, why do they care now that I'm gone? Because it was never about you being beneath them. It was about them needing someone to control. They never wanted an equal, a partner, a friend. They wanted a puppet. And when you cut the strings, they lost everything. And what's even worse for them, the door is shut. You're not going back. You're not entertaining their fake apologies, their attempts to act like they've changed, their desperate moves to regain a place in your life. Because you see the pattern now. You see exactly how they operate. You understand now that their so-called power was just a smokescreen. And here's the part that burns them the most. You don't even hate them. You just don't need them. No revenge, no bitterness, just indifference. Just a door closed forever. They thought they were irreplaceable. They thought they were untouchable. But now they realize they were only as strong as the control they had over you. And without it, they're nothing. So let them scramble. Let them panic. Let them sit in the emptiness of their own illusion. Because you took your power back, and now they are truly powerless. Number 9, they can't handle watching you win without them. They thought you needed them, but now they need therapy after watching you glow up. They swore you wouldn't make it, told themselves you'd fall apart without them, convinced everyone around them that you were nothing without their presence, their approval, their so-called support. They needed to believe that, because the idea of you standing on your own, thriving without them, was too much for their ego to handle. But now they're choking on their own words, because not only did you survive without them, you leveled up in ways they never saw coming. You're glowing, you're moving differently, you're achieving things they swore you never could. And the worst part, they can't do anything about it. They scroll through your life from behind the scenes, watching silently, seething in frustration. Every move you make, every success you post, every time someone praises you, it's a reminder of how badly they miscalculated. They expected you to crumble. Instead, you turned every loss into a lesson, every setback into fuel, every betrayal into motivation. And now, they're the ones struggling to keep it together. See, it was never about you failing. It was about them needing to feel superior. They didn't want you to actually be weak, but they needed to believe you were. Because as long as they thought you depended on them, they could feel important. As long as they could tell themselves you were nothing without them, they could avoid facing the truth, that you were always the one bringing the real value. But now, that illusion is shattered. They can't even pretend to be happy for you, because your success is too loud, too undeniable, too inescapable. They see you moving forward while they stay stuck in the same cycles. They see you breaking barriers while they remain stagnant. And that's the real pain they're carrying, the realization that they played themselves. Look at some of the most powerful figures in the world. Jay-Z went from being dismissed by record labels to becoming one of the biggest moguls in music. The same people who overlooked him now work for him. Oprah was told she wasn't fit for TV. Now, she built an empire that networks begged to collaborate with. Elon Musk was laughed at for his ideas. Now, his ideas run the world. Success isn't just the best revenge, it's the ultimate exposure. You don't have to say a word. You don't have to prove anything. Your growth is loud enough to speak for itself. And that's exactly why they're struggling. Because deep down, they know you won't ever need them again. They know they no longer have access to you. They see you glowing, achieving, becoming everything they once tried to downplay, and they know they can't take credit for any of it. And you might be wondering, if they didn't want me to win, why do they care so much now? Because it was never about you losing. It was about them needing to feel above you. They didn't just want you to struggle. They wanted to believe that without them, you wouldn't make it. Now, every win you achieve is a direct attack on the narrative they tried to build. And here's the part that hurts them the most. You don't even think about them anymore. They sit in their bitterness, waiting for the moment you acknowledge them, waiting for you to look back, waiting for you to show even the slightest sign that you miss them. But you don't. Because you're too busy building, thriving, succeeding. They can't stand watching you win because they know they're no longer part of your story. They see you doing what they swore you couldn't, and it's breaking them. Because while they wasted time hoping for your downfall, you used that time to level up. And now they have to live with the fact that you never needed them, but they sure as hell needed you. Number 10, they're trapped in their own karma. They dug a hole for you, but now they're stuck in it. They thought they won. They thought betraying you was just another move in their little game. Another victory for their ego. They were so sure they were getting ahead, slandering your name, underestimating you, playing both sides, thinking they could throw dirt on your name and walk away untouched. But what they didn't realize is this: life keeps receipts. And now, everything they sent your way is circling back to them. They were so focused on setting traps for you that they didn't see the pit they were digging for themselves. They thought they could take shortcuts, manipulate situations, lie, cheat, and betray without consequence. But the universe doesn't work like that. What you put out always comes back, and they just got hit with the full force of everything they tried to do to you. See, karma doesn't need you to lift a finger. It doesn't need your revenge, your anger, or your energy. All it needs is time. And now that time has caught up with them, they're drowning in the mess they created. While you're rising, they're sinking. While you're walking in power, they're losing everything. And the worst part, they did it to themselves. They thought betraying you was a win. They thought that by cutting you out, playing games behind your back, and throwing obstacles in your way, they were setting themselves up for something better. But the reality? You were the blessing the entire time. And now that they're left with nothing, they finally see it. Look around. How many people have tried to destroy someone else, only to end up destroying themselves? People who betrayed real ones, only to watch their own lives fall apart. History is full of examples. Judas thought he could sell out his greatest connection, but the weight of his actions crushed him. Athletes, artists, and business moguls who turned on the very people that helped them rise, only to lose everything in the end. Because that's the way karma works. It doesn't hit immediately, but when it does, there's no escape. And now, they're feeling it. That betrayal that was supposed to be their big move, it backfired. That lie they spread about you, it's coming back to them. Those doors they thought they slammed in your face, now they're the ones locked out. And the irony? You never even had to do anything. They wasted so much time plotting against you, trying to manipulate situations, thinking they were 2 steps ahead, but they never realized the universe was watching. They thought they could dodge the consequences forever, but no one escapes the energy they put out. No one. And you might be wondering, why do I even care? Why should I think about them at all? The truth is, you don't have to. Their karma isn't your problem. Their downfall isn't your concern. You already won the moment you walked away. This isn't about gloating. It's about understanding that you were never the one who lost anything. They were. You see, when you're chosen, when you move with integrity, when you stay focused on your path, nothing they do can touch you. They thought they could break you, but all they did was expose themselves. They thought they could outsmart you, but they were always playing checkers while you were mastering the board. And now, while they sit in the mess they made, you're too busy winning to look back. So let them struggle. Let them sit with their regrets. Let them learn the hard way that betraying a real one comes with a cost they can't afford. Because while they're trapped in their own karma, you're walking straight into your destiny. Number 11. They thought you would break, but you became unstoppable. They expected you to fold under pressure, but pressure only made you stronger. They thought they had you, thought that if they applied just enough pressure you'd collapse. If they betrayed you at the right time, if they walked away when you needed them most, if they stacked enough obstacles in your path, you'd finally give up. They assumed that once life hit you hard enough, you'd stay down. But what they didn't know is, pressure doesn't destroy the strong, it builds them. You didn't break, you transformed. Every setback became fuel, every betrayal became a lesson, every loss became a stepping stone. You didn't fold, you adapted, evolved, sharpened yourself into something they never saw coming. And now? Now you're stronger than ever, and they can't stand it. See, people like them underestimate the power of resilience. They don't understand what it means to be tested by fire and come out stronger. Because they've never survived what you have. They expected you to stay stuck in the pain, to drown in self-doubt, to remain frozen in the past, but instead, you kept moving, you kept growing, and now they're the ones stuck, trapped in the same mindset, the same cycles, the same bitterness they tried to push onto you. Look at history. Look at the ones who refused to quit when the world expected them to. Oprah was fired from her first job in television. Now she's a billionaire. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Now he's a legend. Nelson Mandela was imprisoned for 27 years. He came out and changed a nation. These people weren't handed an easy path, but they refused to let their struggles define them. And neither did you. And now? Now they don't know what to do with you. They thought you would disappear. They thought life would swallow you whole. But instead, you turned every failure into momentum. You've become unstoppable, and the ones who counted you out, they're stuck watching from the sidelines, and you might ask yourself, why did they even want to see me fail? Why did they want to break me in the first place? Because your strength exposed their weakness. See, people who haven't built anything for themselves can't stand watching someone else rise. People who don't have the discipline, the drive, the hunger to elevate will always try to sabotage the ones who do. Instead of learning from your resilience, instead of using your success as inspiration, they chose to become your opposition. They saw your potential and feared it, because if you made it, it would remind them that they had no excuse. And now they have to live with the fact that they lost, and you won. Because here's the truth, the strongest people aren't the ones who never struggled, they're the ones who struggled and refused to quit. You've been through storms they wouldn't survive. You've faced battles that would have broken them in half. And instead of staying down, you rose higher than ever. And the irony? They were part of the process. Their betrayal made you wiser, their doubt made you hungrier. Their attempts to destroy you only made you sharper, stronger, and more powerful than they could have imagined.